Coming up on this episode of Winning Bets, we've got a $5,000 jackpot on Wednesday night's NASCAR race. Hey, what's up everyone? It's Jason Mattis with Winning Bets. Thanks for hanging out with me on this episode. That's right, it's time to gear up and start our engines for another exciting NASCAR contest on the Fox Bet Super 6 contest. This one's for $5,000. All they do is ask you 6 questions. It's a lot simpler than the ones they've done in the past where you got to figure out the driver's finishing position. A lot simpler. 6 very easy questions. This race is taking place at Bristol. So we know that those guys raced a few weeks ago back at Bristol, so I've used the research at that race. I've also used these drivers' career finishing. There's just their career stats at Bristol, so we've leaned on that. And just used a little touch of an extra information if I needed to at the Martinsville track, because that's also a half-mile track, as is the Bristol's a half-mile track. Although most of my research was mainly focused on the result a few weeks ago at Bristol. And like I said, these guys' career stats at Bristol. Once again, these guys won't be practicing leading up to the race, so I think the experiences at Bristol and I think the experiences a few weeks ago will definitely play a large part. Just to kind of give you guys a background, so stage 1 will consist of 55 laps. Stage 2 is 35 laps. Stage 3 is 35 laps. And then the final stage 4, is only 15 laps. And I wanted to give you those guys now because based on the questions, the amount of laps that are in between each stages will certainly matter. So I feel good, guys. I always do a ton of research, for these contests, for these free jackpots, but I'm definitely feeling extra good at this one. My wife actually had to pull me off of the computer last night. I was doing so much research. As I was digging into the numbers, though, and, comparing the numbers to the questions, just feel really good about how I've got these 6 answers questions. So let's go ahead, let's dive into it, and let's put this money here in our pocket. All right, guys, so you can see on question 1, they ask which of these drivers is going to have the best finishing position in stage 1. So if we look at that, if we look at Logano to start off, he'll be starting in 12th position on Wednesday night's race. He finished 21st at Bristol a few weeks ago. He's got 2 wins at Bristol. He's got 3 other finishes in the top 5. He's got 4 other finishes in the top 10. He's got an average finish here at Bristol of 15.30, and of his 23 races that he's done here at Bristol, 43.4% of them have finished in the top 10. If we move on down to Brad Keselowski, he starts 9th on Wednesday night. He won the Bristol race a few weeks ago. He's got 3 wins at Bristol. He's got 3 other top 5s. He's got another finish in the top 10. His average finish here at Bristol is 16.52. And of his 21 races at Bristol, 33.3% of them have finished in the top 10. Moving on to Martin Truex Jr., he's got the pole for Wednesday night's race. He finished in 20th at Bristol, though, a few weeks ago. He doesn't have a win here. He's got 2 top 5s. He's got another top 10 finish. He's got an average finishing position of 20.62. And of his 29 races at Bristol, only 10.3% have finished in the top 10. And lastly, the last driver here, we've got Blaney here. He crashed earlier this season at Bristol because he finished in 40th place. He'll be starting on 3rd on Wednesday night. And he only ran 199 of the 500 laps. So, when we mentioned that these guys won't have any practice time, before the race, he only got 199 laps in. So I think that's going to go a little disadvantage there for him. He's only got 1 top 5. He's got 4 other top 10s. He's got an average finish of 20.70. And of his 10 races, though, he did get 40% of them in the top 10. This was tough when to answer this one. I initially had Brad Keselowski when I thought about it, and I did the research kind of at a top level, but then I, dig deeper, like I said, and I always want to be thorough in my research. So I actually then switched to Blaney when I had it all said and done. I liked his numbers here at Bristol, despite the fact that he crashed last time out, but his starting position there is in 3rd. But what I didn't like, again, is the 199 laps that he had started, or that he was able to finish a few weeks back. But in the end, I went ahead and answered this one as Brad Keselowski. Look, he has a good starting position at 9th. I think within the 55 laps, you'll get a crash. Look, Bristol is known for crashes. The drivers are obviously on a very tight circuit of a half mile. These guys are finishing, a lap in like 13, 14 seconds. So I think 55 laps, there is enough time for him to climb the standings and, past Truex Jr. and Blaney, what have you, those guys that are starting in front of him. But I also think that there's going to be a caution caution at some point in those first 55 laps, just due to the nature at Bristol. You always get caution. So I've got stage 1 better finishing position going to Brad Keselowski. All right, guys, so if we move on to question 2, it revolves stage 2. Again, this one's only 35 laps, and it's which driver is going to have the better finishing position. If we go ahead and run through these drivers, Kurt Busch will be starting 7th on Wednesday night, and he finished on 7th at Bristol earlier. He's got 6 wins here at Bristol, 6 other top 5s, 9 other top 10s, an averaging finish position of 14, and he loves it here at Bristol. 39 races, 53.8% of the time he's finished in the top 10. Erik Jones will be starting at 16th. He finished 5th at Bristol a few weeks back. He's got 3 top 5s and an average finishing position of 14.3. In his 7 races at Bristol, 42.8% of the time he was able to finish in the top 10. Moving on to Matt Kenseth, he'll be starting 6th, and he finished 16th at Bristol a few weeks ago. He's got 4 wins at Bristol, 11 other top 5s, 7 other top 10s, average finishing position of 13.68, and of his 37 races at Bristol, 59.4% of them he was able to finish in the top 10. Moving on to the last and final driver, he'll be starting 2nd on Wednesday night's All-Star Race, but he too, much like Blaney, he crashed last time at Bristol, was only able to get that into a 37th place finish. He's got 1 top 5, he's got 1 other top 10, average finish of 22.67. And of his 9 races, 22.2% of the finishes were in the top 10. I thought this one was a little bit more straightforward, and I went ahead and answered it as Kurt Busch. Look, he obviously loves this track, much like Brad Keselowski. Kurt Busch is just a big fan of this. We mentioned all the wins that he has with the 6 wins. He's got the nice big 53% percentage there in the top 10. So just a guy that really loves this. Yeah, and then he finished 7th at Bristol, and he's also finished 9th in Martinsville. So just a really good short track driver, I thought that he is. And you could maybe say, well, what about Matt Kenseth? He's got a little bit better percentage there in the top 10 there at 59.4. But when I looked at his finishes at Bristol, he was 16th in Bristol and he was 23rd at Martinsville. Matt Kenseth hasn't been running all that great this season, so I put the edge there on Kurt Busch with his pedigree here at Bristol and his most recent finishes. So if we move on to question 3, it's will any stage winner of stage 1 and stage 2 also win stage 3? We're just going to go ahead with no. We've done that on a lot of these contests on Fox Bet Super 6 and also the Yahoo Fantasy Slate contest. Very similar question. We always answer these no, and it's just based on the percentages. Math tells you that you have greater probability of not finishing there, of not winning the stage if you had won one of the previous 2 stages. Moving on to question 4, who's going to be the winning team? So they give you Hendrick. Of the drivers that ride for Hendrick Motorsports, they've gotten 2 wins at this track. Team Penske next. Of the drivers that ride for that team, there's 5 wins on that team. Stewart-Haas, they have 2 wins on that team. And then you get Joe Gibbs and any other team. Look, the drivers for Joe Gibbs and any other team, they have 16 wins here at Bristol. If you answer it with this way, you're getting Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch and Denny Hamlin. Oh yeah, that just screams you got to answer this one, Joe Gibbs and any other team. The next question is, who's going to be the winning car manufacturer? Once again, if we look at Toyota, you're getting 10 wins. If we look at Chevrolet, you're going to get 8 wins. And if you answer this one at Ford, you're going to get 7 wins. I went ahead and answered this one, based on that. I went ahead and answered it. Toyota, you're getting 10 wins. You're getting Kyle Busch, you're getting Denny Hamlin, you're getting Martin Truex Jr., and you're getting Erik Jones. So a lot of good heavy hitters here at Toyota. And I'll get talking to Kyle Busch here a little bit later about his statistics here at Bristol. All right, guys, the last final question is, which amongst these drivers, who's going to have the better final position? So if we go ahead and break it down, the first driver is Kevin Harvick. He'll be starting 5th on Wednesday night. He finished 11th at Bristol a few weeks back. He's got 2 wins, 10 other top 5s, 7 other top 10s, average finish of 13.77. And of his 39 races at Bristol, he's gotten 48.7% of those in the top 10. Kyle Busch right here, he's starting 10th on Wednesday night. He finished 4th at Bristol a few weeks back. He's got 8 wins at Bristol, 5 other top 10s, 5 other top 5s, 5 other top 10s, average finishing position of 13.13. And of his 30 races at Bristol, 60 60% of those bad boys have finished in the top 10. That's outstanding. Denny Hamlin will be starting at 15th on Wednesday night. He got 17th finish at Bristol a few weeks ago. 2 wins here at Bristol, 7 other top 5s, 5 other top 10s, average finish of 14.48. Of his 29 races at Bristol, 48.2% of them have been top 10 finishes. And lastly, we got Chase Elliott starting in 13th position, got 22 in Bristol a few weeks back, 3 top 5s, 1 other top 10, average finish of 12.67. Of his 9 races here at Bristol, he's gotten 44.4% of them in the top 10. So how'd we answer it? Guys, you can't ignore Kyle Busch's numbers here. I mean, come on, 8 wins, 60% of the top 10. It was kind of a no-brainer here. You're going to go ahead and go with Kyle Busch, and he even finished in 4th a few weeks back here at Bristol, so really hard. So let's go. That's who we've got. So to recap, we've got Brad Keselowski, we've got Kurt Busch, we've got no driver. Give it to Joe Gibbs and any other driver. Give it to Toyota, and give it to Kyle Busch. All right, guys, that's how I'm answering those 6 questions for a chance to win $5,000 on the Fox Bet Super 6 contest. This is for the All-Star Race happening on Wednesday night. Tons of research went into this. I'm feeling really good, so fingers crossed it all goes our way on Wednesday night. All right, guys, I'm Jason Mattis. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching this episode of Winning Bets. I'm Jason Mattis. I'll see you again when we are celebrating the wins and making more winning bets. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more winning bets.